Hi, welcome everybody. I am Wendy Watson, CEO and spiritual therapist at TBR Spiritual Health. And first of all, let me thank Jamie for hosting such an amazing event. And the food smells amazing. I still wish I could eat it, but you know, dietary restrictions. So who here has ever eaten a pint of ice cream or gone binge drinking after a breakup? Right?
Or a bad day.
Raise your hand if you wish you could exercise more. Raise your hand if you would like to be more in tune with your spirit and your guidance. Right? So today I'm going to speak to you about the 6 points of harmony in regards to energy and the health and wellness. And I know a lot of you guys already know about health and wellness, being a lymphatic drainage, massage therapist, mindset coach, right? All of these healthy things. But tonight I want you to imagine the bigger picture and how all 6 points correlate with each other. Because I know as a massage therapist, I tend to end up getting focused more on the body. Although other components come secondary and third, but my primary focus was on the body. As a mindset coach, generally speaking, you're more focused on the mindset. So tonight I'm going to talk about how all 6 points kind of correlate with each other to look at the bigger picture. So who believes energy is in everything? Absolutely. So the first thing I want you to take away from with this diagram is that all the lines point, connect, and intersect with each other somewhere, somehow. Yes? Mm-hmm. So the first 5, nutritional, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I'm going to save the dessert for last, right? So when you did binge eat or binge drink after the breakup, how did you feel in this? Like crap, right? When you feel like crap because you ate like crap, did you want to exercise? No.
Burn it out of me.
Right? Were you able to focus on challenging tasks? How was your emotional state?
Not well.
Right? Which means you're not communicating well, you're not treating people well, right? You're kind of a mess. And when you're in those states, how well do you think you communicate with spirit? Okay. So the things that we feed our body, the food, the nutrients, provides bone density, increases our bone density so that our structure is stronger. The proteins provide the energy that our muscles need in order to contract and release and move and do other things. It releases the fluids in our brains so that we can think and regulate our moods. Right? When we exercise, do we feel better? Do we feel more energetic? Mm-hmm. We feel like our muscles and our joints are all loosened up. Have you ever tried to tenderize a steak? Right? You wrap it in saran wrap and you do it with a tenderizer. Well, what if you wrap the saran wrap too tight? It either bursts, right? Which, as far as the physical body, creates injury. Or it stays tight and you can't tenderize it because the steak doesn't have room to move. Right? So taking care of our body is the same way. The saran wrap is our tissue. It's our myofascial layers, right? Taking care of the body doesn't just necessarily mean being a weightlifter and going to like win the next championship. It means massage, hot bubble baths, stretching, all of these things in order to produce the neurotransmitters, in order to improve our moods. When our moods are better, we eat better. When we think better, we're more focused. We don't get so overwhelmed by the long list of entrepreneurial tasks that we have to do, or mom tasks that we have to do, right? Which means we can listen to spirit better. Right? So do you see how each component relates to the next? If you allow the negative thinking to come in, right? What you feed your brain is just as important as what you feed your body. Okay. So are you watching CSI shows? Murder shows? Duck Dynasty? Right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So not just the TV shows that we watch, the music that we listen to. You know, most music that is played on the radio is only produced at a 440 megahertz. The only music that is still produced at an 800 megahertz or higher is classical music. Otherwise, you got to get into the binaural beats, the theta music, meditation music, right? And there's a proven science. They put sand on a plate, and then they play the music. The higher the frequency, the more organized the patterns on the plate, which means the more organized the thoughts in your mind, right? The lower the frequency, the more scattered the sand was, right? The more scattered your brain's going to be. So what are you listening to? And at what hertz are you listening to? Are you taking the time to meditate either with music or to listen to the higher frequency music so that your brain can operate at a higher frequency? Okay. When you're listening, okay.
The frequency of music, it's the first time I've heard about it.
When I found out about it, I wanted to change the whole world and be like, we need to stop oppressing us. Stop holding us down, right? When we're operating on a higher frequency, we can connect to spirit, connect to God at a higher frequency, which means not only is it going to be easier for us to hear them, the information will come through clear. Right? Have you ever tried to pray or connect or whatever it is that you do? But it takes like a half an hour or what it feels like a half an hour to finally connect. I finally hear the voice. Right? Would you like to do that in a shorter amount of time? Right? I personally ask my spirit, ask my body what it wants to eat for every single meal. Part of my morning routine is you tell me what I need to get done. That's in alignment with my path. And what we have agreed on together. Right? So I can decide what to do and make my whole task list, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do in order to get me to make money or to do the things that we've agreed is my role in this space. Right? So being able to think clear, being able to just make better decisions, right? Who here, when you did break up, right? When you went through your breakup, you were all emotional, right? Did you go through your emotional depressive state? Yes, ma'am. When you're in that state, do you make good decisions? Do you eat well? There's a thing called emotional eating, right? And then you feel it. So you're either, when you're in that state, you're not usually making all of the best decisions.
Emotional eating is the worst. It's like, you know, you're not eating right, but then you just keep
But you do it anyway. Right,
and then
right.
you feel guilty about it, and then you're like stuck in that emotional vicious cycle.
Right, so how do you break out of it? How do you break out of it?
Well, I try to calm myself down and like limit my distractions is one way that I do it. Because when there's a lot of turmoil or overwhelm, I think it's a human tendency that we try to look for ways to distract ourselves for the time being. So we don't like feel the overwhelm or we don't feel the pain.
Yeah.
So I try to keep myself away from those forcefully.
Right.
And then that helps me calm down a little bit.
So what I'm hearing is that you then focus in your mental and your spiritual tools in order to balance out the emotional that's out of balance. Right? So drawing from other energies that are in excess, transferring it to the one that's not in excess, that's lacking, right? So imagine this diagram, right? When you get into those states, oh, my low back hurts, right? Is it the physical? Is it the emotional that's causing the low back to hurt? Or is it your diet?
Little of everything. The combination of everything.
It could be a combination of everything. It could be one thing. It could be that spirit's trying to tell you something. I'm trying to send you a signal.
I think it's, for me, it's physical pains are always just the messenger of the emotional and energetic turmoil is actually.
Right, but being able to tune into that, right? Being aware of all of these different points in order to be able to tune into that for yourself, right? So my right hip, I have issues with my right hip. I know that there's a structural thing going on there, right? So sometimes it is purely just structural, right? The head of my femur is malformed. So these muscles around the head of the femur get congested. When they get congested, they get tight, and what happens, like the whole thing ends up getting out of balance, right? So there are times where it's just structural for me. There are times where it's also trying to send me a message, send me an emotional message, right? So the first couple of times that I was on stage, this whole right hip went all kinds of wonky, and I almost couldn't put my weight down on it. So that's where my stress shows up, right? And then for the next 2 or 3 days, my hip was just killing me to the point where I had to take medication, and I don't take medication, right? So being in tune with your body, with your spirit, with your emotions is what will help get you into alignment, into this harmony. Kale may be a healthy ingredient, but that doesn't mean it's healthy for you. Right? If your constitution is acidic, you shouldn't be eating raspberries and blueberries and strawberries and all these acidic foods, even though they're superfoods and they're super healthy. That doesn't mean that they're right for you. So I have recently found out I tend to be more mucusy and choleric. So that means I need to eat, in some ways, drier foods like nuts, but not breads because those are too dry, right?
Dairy.
Eliminate
dairy.
Yep, no dairy. I've never been attracted to dairy, really. So that should tell you something if you're not attracted to it, right? If your body is craving something, you think you should listen to that instead of being like, I hear you, but I'm gonna go get that burger anyways. Right? So listening. So who thinks they know what number 6 is?
Energy?
Energy.
And the
Middle.
energy is in the middle. Okay.
Any guesses?
I would say soul.
Family. Well,
Yeah.
I was close. Relationship.
Which is why it's on the top, because it's the most important.
Yeah.
Right, when you lead with love, for yourself, for others, for universe, for God, all of these decisions will be a lot easier to make. Managing the emotions, being respectful of your emotions, allowing yourself to feel what you feel, but then going through the mental process of how do I want to feel, right? It's one thing to be like, yes, I feel betrayed because so-and-so did this, and acknowledging that and allowing it to heal and allowing it to process, but then choosing who you want to be. Do you choose to continue to feel betrayed? Or do you choose to find compassion and understanding? If your body is craving carrots, are you going to choose those carrots out of love for your body? Or are you going to ignore it and go buy the tacos from the local store anyway? Right? So if you put love first, then how you act with people, how you communicate with people, the decisions that you make for yourself will set you up for the harmony. So I have a recent example. I set up a trade with somebody for a massage. She got hers at my studio, and then it was time for mine. And so I went to my studio to set up for me. She went to her studio to set up for me. And by the time we finally got in communication, I had lost half an hour of my massage. And I was already cranky and could tell I was already a little cranky and was like managing it. Now I've lost a half an hour of my massage and I have to drive all the way over to her studio. So I was even more cranky by the time I got there. So no, I didn't give her a hug when I said hello when I finally got there. And I was just like, let's just hurry up. Let's get on the table so I can hurry up and calm down. Right? And then after the massage, I was like, I'm sorry for being here. Right? That's where the love comes in. Acknowledging that you're in that space, but then apologizing, even whether they recognize it or not, you still know what space that you're in. You know how you're acting. So having love for yourself and having love for them and acknowledging it. And of course, she was just like, you aren't cranky. I was like, well, for me, that was cranky. Just like, that's nothing, I can handle it. But should she? Should she have to? Even though she can, which was really sweet and a very loving response, but should she have to? So are you setting yourself up for your emotions, knowing that you're cranky, knowing that you're PMSing, knowing that you're feeling bloated? Are you still gonna go out and be around people knowing what state of mind that you're in? Can you handle that? Can you manage it? Or are you gonna set yourself up for success and be like, let's reschedule? Right? The biggest thing that I learned, the most important thing that I learned, was the sacred yes and the sacred no. And it is the absolute truth for love, an absolute expression of love, because you are giving that person 100% yes or 100% no, and you're being honest with yourself. So if somebody invites you out to dinner and you don't 100% want to be there, don't go. Because not only are you being true to yourself and sacred to yourself, you are in turn being sacred to them. And that is the best gift that you could give them, because if you're not there 100%, that's not fair to them.
It's really being authentic and being honest, right? Being honest enough with yourself to be honest with other people. People I've always, they can handle the truth so much more than they.
Yes,
You know,
but we're
they-
also afraid of the truth.
They
Right?
know, yeah, they know when nothing's more uncomfortable than, like you said, like saying yes when you really don't want to be. That's not fair to anyone.
That's not fair. Right. I don't want to be treated that way. I don't want you to be here if you want to be here.
Right.
I really wanted to be here.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate you. I love you being here. So I want you guys to have this. I want you to help you be able to have this because you deserve it. Do you believe you deserve it?
Yes.
Do you want it?
Yes.
Yes. Because when you're in this mode, you feel like you have the Midas touch. Right? You feel like everything is going well. Money's coming in, your relationships are going really well, your mental, your body's feeling good, right? Everything is just golden when you're in this state. When you're not, it feels like the whole world is coming down. It feels like nothing is going right. You get in an accident one week, your kid's screwing up the next week. You're not paying your bills the next week, right? And I'm not saying that this will ever be 100% perfect, because things are always shifting, things are always moving, and there's variables that we can't control, like other people, right? But it's setting you up for success on how to manage all of these different aspects, so that you can manage your world all encompassing and manage your own. Who's ready? So scan this QR code, get your phone out. I know you need to get your phone out.
I'm gonna see it.
Oh. There
There
you
we
go.
go.
And by scanning the QR code and booking an appointment with me, I will send you a free training video. Because I want you to have this. I want one of these areas is a challenge for you. Yes? Which one of these areas is the one spot that you have the most challenge with?
Me, it's I'd say like the physical workout stuff. Like, I'm really good at kind of balancing, like I was saying, between the mental and the emotional, and sometimes even the food. Like, I'm aware, even though sometimes I act out and I'm doing it, I'm aware in my mind that this is not the right thing to do right now. So there is some kind of a control, but I would like to move to a place where, you know, I can take the physical actions, like push myself to work out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something like, as a habit coach, I really have to put limitations on myself, push myself to do that, but I'd like to do that.
Yes. Okay. Jamie, what's?
Well,
You want me to go back?
so for me, anytime that I've been really kind of out of alignment, I always go to my spiritual first. And I've learned that for me, starting with love, though, like that's what always has to come first. You know, you just have to get to a place where you love yourself enough to take care of yourself, right? And then I always go to the physical and the nutritional, because that's where once I start feeling better in my body and I start moving that right and getting all those good chemicals happening and eating the right food, and that helps my energy and everything, that's where I start to get more balance with my mental and emotional.
Right. So which one is your biggest challenge?
Right now, I'm still actually very good with all of them
Good.
at the moment.
Okay.
So
I love it.
this is what I've really been working on with myself since the beginning of the year. So because I was not doing good with any of this last year.
Okay.
So, but yeah, right now I'm feeling really very balanced.
Good. And for you?
I think that the nutrition part, I'd say, is what I'm struggling with this week.
Okay. Sweet.
You know,
Yeah.
because I was snowed in for a few days and it's like a whole bunch of just junk happening, and then all the other stuff like piles on, you know, and you don't exercise because you're not eating. So it's like a snowball effect. Like once one is out of balance, it's easy to like that slippery slope to just like, but to circle back to how you get out of, like, how I get myself out of it, I usually fast.
Okay,
And that helps me to like reset everything, not only like it helps me reset my physical, but it helps me reset my spirit, and, you know, that
There you
soul
go.
care.
yep, there's a lot of people that use fasting for that,
Yeah.
yes. So what was your biggest takeaway from this presentation?
I love how, you know, it's all connected. Is kind of how I teach people as well. They're looking at holistic, because like you said, a lot of people tend to, you know, oh, it's just my body, it's just this thing.
Yeah.
I just have this problem, and you know, it has nothing to do with my spiritual or my emotional or anything else. But so I love the reiteration. Yes, it's, you know, we are whole beings. And we need all of this to work together to be good, you know, and it's what it's like. If one area is a little bit flat, like you said, right? It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
It pulls everything down. It's chain reaction.
Yep.
But then it also too, like
Can
when
work
you said
everything.
it, you pick the one that you struggle, and once you start, you know, bringing that one back up, it will also.
It'll
connect
get,
all the
right,
other
so
dots.
it can either pull it all down or it can lift it all back up,
Mhm.
right? It all depends on how you transfer that energy. So what's your biggest take?
So I think just hearing that, and I've always worked off of this, that awareness comes first. You have to be aware of what's going on. Like actually be able to step back and almost like see yourself like you're looking at another person, the kind of awareness. And it's hard in the beginning, but it gets easier as you practice. And it's almost like it automatically comes to you. You're not eating something right, and then your mind is telling you you shouldn't be doing that, and you can hear it more clearly. But just hearing it from you again today, that everything is interconnected. And like you said, sometimes even your emotions, they manifest as pains in your body. And a lot of people assume that diseases are different from your mental state or your emotional state, and there's no connection, when that's absolutely wrong. Like that's how it shows up in your body. What you feed your mind and what you feed your soul shows up in your body. We're all the same package.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it was great to hear it. And just, yeah, just to hear it again from an expert like you. Felt good.
Awesome. And what was your biggest takeaway?
I think that like I echo what everybody's already said, right? Like everything that happens in the spiritual realm manifests in the physical at some point, right? But I love, because when I see that, and it correlates with how what my belief system is, right? Like we are tripartite beings, like we're a soul and a spirit, and while our soul is our mind, will, and emotions, and we're a spirit, which is our God connection, and our physical, right, which is also how the nutrition. So all of it just encompasses everything, and love is at the center of it. You know, God is at the center, but love is like the most
That's where
important thing.
everything really needs to begin, is with with love. We are energetic beings having a physical experience, human experience. That is what we are.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you guys got such amazing takeaways from it.
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
So for someone who is trying to create this balance, right? Like moving themselves on that journey forward to find that balance between all of the different points that we talked about. If they are in the presence of others who are not vibrating at the same frequency, it can be quite a lot of resistance, because I work with a lot of clients who are ready to shift their mindsets and their habits, but they don't really have a supportive environment, which is a big obstacle and leads to a lot of frustration. So from your experience of working with clients, what are your thoughts on, or what would your advice be if your client ever said to you, I want to make all these changes, but I don't live in a very supportive environment?
Actually, I love that you asked that question, because it's a really important question. And I actually just addressed this with a client this week that I have been working with for 2 months. And she's been doing great. She's been doing all the work. And then last week, she allowed all this negative talk to come in. First of all, she invited it in. by asking other people their opinions about what she should do. Right? When we turn outside of ourselves for validation, for opinions, for advice, there's a certain level of that that's healthy. But it depends on the source that you're getting it from. Right? So if you're allowing it, so she was allowing all this negativity in, and I finally just had to call her out when she was ready to hear it, right? Because they have to be ready to hear it. And so I just flat out told her, I'm like, she's like, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't decide on anything. I keep going back and forth. And she's like, I'm usually such a decision maker. And I don't understand why I can't make any decisions. I'm like, because you have all of this static coming in. You can't hear your opinion. You can't hear what your thoughts are. I was like, you have to shut out the chatter. And you have to be more specific about who you want to get advice from. I was like, do you want to have a positive mindset or a negative mindset? He's like, well, positive. I was like, then why is everything that you've been telling me almost daily, why is everything that you're telling me so negative? It's because you're getting it from these other sources. She's like, I was like, you need to shut out the negativity. You need to shut out the other sources that are not clearly not operating in alignment with you, and sit with yourself and figure out what you want. You can go back to them later if you decide to, but for now you need to shut that out, figure out what you want, operate within alignment with your spirit, with your decisions, with your mind, and whatever your path is, with your God, your spirit,
Your higher self.
your higher self, all of that. I was like, and then you need to decide what kind of friends you want in your life, right? And who you want to take advice from. I am absolutely the black sheep in my family. You think I go to any of my family for advice? Nope. No, because we're not in alignment. We don't think alike. Right? It drives my mom nuts that I won't come to her for advice, but it doesn't jive.
There's also a difference too of like, what are you going to people for that advice for? Because
Yeah.
one, you are either going to them because you are curious about what they think, or what a lot of people tend to do is you're going to them just for the validation.
Or you're
You
going
want,
to
you
them.
want them to give you the answer already, you know,
Yes.
it's like, well, do you think, should I wear the red dress or the blue dress? You already know which one, why are you asking this person? Because you're not trusting
You're not trusting yourself.
your higher self and your own, like you said, like, you know, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks.
It doesn't.
So-
Don't let other people tell you what to do. Right? You being an adult is, and being human is deciding what you want for yourself, regardless of what other people want. There are people in your life that are going to be supportive and will help guide you. This was what I asked her. I was like, are they helping you guide you to your decision, or are they telling you what to do?
Big.
And she's like, oh. Yes, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing if they tell you what to do when they have no idea how you feel about it or what your communications are with your higher self, right? Versus guiding you and asking you questions that lead you to your own decision. So, and that's exactly what she did. She shut everybody out. She sat with herself for the whole weekend and her husband and kids and stuff. And then she was able to think clearly and decide what she wanted. And that was huge for her. I'm like, yes, finally. It has been weeks and you've been kind of doing this, like playing tennis with yourself. I was like, even I'm getting dizzy. And she's like, yes, it's been driving me nuts. I was like, yes, and all you have to do is. So that's what would be my advice. Does that help? Very nice. Yes. Very true. Any other questions? Well, thank you for listening to my speech tonight.
Thank you, Wendy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. It's chilly here.